At 21 years old, Emma Brooks discovered exactly how quickly family could become strangers. 3 weeks after her grandmother's funeral, her two older sisters called a family meeting. Emma expected they would talk about memories. Instead, they talked about money. Claire, the oldest, slid a stack of documents across the kitchen table. "We've agreed to sell Grandma's house." Emma looked confused. "What about everything inside?" "We've already divided it." Her middle sister, Natalie, smiled thinly. "You weren't around enough to help." Emma stared. "I worked 2 jobs to help Grandma pay her medical bills." Claire shrugged. "That's not the same." By sunset, the sisters had claimed the house, Grandma's savings, her antique furniture, jewelry, and every valuable possession. Emma received one envelope. Inside was an old property deed. "Rosie's soda fountain." She frowned. "Our old soda shop?" Claire laughed. "The boarded-up building downtown." Natalie smiled. "You always liked sentimental junk." Emma quietly folded the deed. "If that's what Grandma wanted." She stood. "I'll take it." Neither sister tried to stop her. 2 days later, the house officially transferred to Claire and Natalie. Emma was asked to leave immediately. Her car became her home. She parked beside the river each night. Worked morning shifts at a grocery store. Evening shifts cleaning offices. Every dollar disappeared into gasoline and food. One rainy afternoon, she finally drove to the old soda fountain. The faded sign still hung above the storefront. "Rosie's Soda Fountain." Half the letters had fallen away. The windows were covered with weathered plywood. Paint peeled from every wall. Most people barely noticed it anymore. Emma unlocked the old front door. Dust floated through sunlight. Rows of red leather booths still stood. Chrome stools lined the counter. An ancient milkshake mixer rested exactly where Grandma had left it years earlier. Everything felt frozen in time. She smiled. "I remember making sundaes here." The memories flooded back. Summer afternoons. Fresh cherry pies. Old jukebox music. Grandma greeting every customer by name. For the first time since being thrown out, Emma felt like she had come home. The following weeks became exhausting. She scrubbed decades of grime from the floors, removed broken shelving, repaired cracked windows, painted faded walls. Every paycheck went into restoring the old shop. Neighbors slowly began stopping by. One elderly customer smiled as he watched her repaint the front sign. Rosie would have been proud. Emma smiled back. "I hope so." The man looked around thoughtfully. "You know what? Developers have tried buying this building for years." Emma frowned. "This old place." He nodded. "Your grandma always refused." "Did she ever say why?" "No." He smiled. "She simply said the soda fountain wasn't what they were buying." Before Emma could ask another question, he quietly walked away. The word stayed with her. 3 days later, she understood. A black luxury SUV stopped outside. A well-dressed woman stepped inside. "My name is Victoria Sloan." She smiled professionally. "My company would like to purchase your property." Emma laughed. "The soda fountain? We'll offer $6 million. Emma nearly dropped the paintbrush. "For this building? Cash?" "No." Victoria remained calm. "If you reconsider." She placed a business card on the counter. "Call me." Then she left. 2 days later, another company arrived. Different representative. Different business card. This offer reached $11 million. Again, Emma refused. Now she knew. The building wasn't valuable because of the soda fountain. Something else was hidden there. That evening, she searched everywhere. Behind shelves. Inside cabinets. Under the counter. Nothing. Just before midnight, she noticed Grandma's favorite antique jukebox. It had never worked while Emma was growing up. Curious, she wiped decades of dust from the front. A tiny brass plaque caught her attention. "Music remembers what people forget." She smiled. "That sounds exactly like Grandma." One corner of the jukebox looked different. A small keyhole sat beneath the coin slot. Emma searched every drawer behind the counter. Finally, she discovered Grandma's old apron. Inside one pocket rested a tiny brass key attached to a faded cherry-shaped keychain. The key fit perfectly. A soft click echoed inside the machine. Instead of opening the coin compartment, the entire jukebox slowly rolled several inches away from the wall. Emma's heart raced. Hidden behind it stood a narrow steel door. She carefully opened it. A stone staircase descended beneath the soda fountain, far deeper than any ordinary basement. She grabbed a flashlight. Every instinct warned her to stop. Instead, she walked down. The staircase ended inside an enormous underground chamber. Emma froze. Concrete walls, steel support beams, industrial generators, water purification equipment, shelves packed with leather-bound ledgers, historic maps, property deeds, engineering plans. It looked less like a hidden cellar and more like a secure underground archive. At the center stood a handcrafted oak table. One envelope rested there. Across the front, written in Grandma Rosie's unmistakable handwriting, were 3 words. For Emma only. Hands trembling, she opened it. The first sentence made her blood run cold. If you found this room, then the people trying to buy my soda fountain have probably found you already. Trying to buy it? Why? Before she could continue reading, a distant engine echoed overhead. Then another. Then another. She hurried toward an old security monitor mounted on the wall. The screen flickered to life. Outside the soda fountain, 3 black SUVs had just pulled up. 6 strangers stepped out carrying surveying equipment and document cases. And they were already walking toward the front door. Emma's heart pounded. 3 black SUVs stood outside the soda fountain. 6 strangers climbed out. None looked hungry. None looked nostalgic. Each carried surveying equipment, radios, and locked document cases. They weren't interested in milkshakes. They were searching for whatever Grandma Rosie had hidden. Emma turned back to the letter. Her hands trembled as she continued reading. If they've arrived, they finally discovered what I spent my entire life protecting. She swallowed. The next sentence stopped her cold. This underground archive isn't your inheritance. Emma frowned. If the hidden chamber wasn't the inheritance, then what was? She continued reading. 40 years earlier, Rosie Brooks worked with the city as a civil engineer restoring old downtown infrastructure. While repairing century-old utility tunnels beneath Main Street, she discovered something extraordinary. Not buried gold, not forgotten cash. An enormous natural freshwater spring flowing beneath the entire historic district. Its underground reservoir supplied clean water to much of the surrounding valley. At the time, few people understood how valuable those water rights would become. Large investment companies quietly did. Through shell corporations, they began buying old businesses throughout downtown. Not because they wanted the buildings. They wanted control of the underground water system. Rosie refused every offer. Instead, she secretly purchased key properties surrounding the spring, beginning with her little soda fountain. Then she established the Brooks Community Trust. Every deed, every engineering survey, every water right agreement, every document exposing illegal land purchases, everything was hidden beneath the soda fountain, waiting for the one granddaughter she believed would protect it. Waiting for Emma. A modern appraisal report slipped from the folder. Estimated trust value, $289 million. Emma stared silently. $289 million. Not because of the soda fountain. Because the trust controlled one of the region's largest protected freshwater systems. Above her came a loud crash. The front door. They had entered. Rosie's letter continued. The trust transfers only to the heir who restores the soda fountain before accepting an offer to sell. Emma smiled. Without realizing it, she had already fulfilled the condition. The next pages contained original deeds, historic engineering maps, environmental studies, property agreements. Everything had been carefully preserved. Then she noticed another envelope. Smaller. Addressed simply. My sweet Emma. She opened it slowly. If you're reading this, then your sisters probably chose money over family. Tears instantly filled her eyes. Grandma had known. The letter continued. I couldn't change their hearts, but I could make sure kindness wasn't forgotten. Emma wiped away a tear. Rosie continued. You were the only granddaughter who worked beside me after school. You remembered customers' names. You carried groceries for neighbors without being asked. You fixed broken things instead of throwing them away. That is why this belongs to you. Emma smiled through tears. Her grandmother hadn't rewarded her for being perfect. She had rewarded her for caring. Another shout echoed through the chamber. The archive's open. Find the documents. Rosie's final instruction appeared on the last page. Leave through the old delivery tunnel. A blueprint showed a concealed passage behind the water filtration equipment. Emma quickly packed every deed, survey, journal, and trust agreement into waterproof cases. She hurried toward the rear of the chamber. Behind several filtration tanks stood a heavy iron wheel. She turned it. A section of the concrete wall slowly slid aside. A narrow tunnel stretched into darkness. Cool air rushed through the opening. Behind her, another voice shouted, "She's getting away." Without hesitation, Emma entered the tunnel. The passage followed the original delivery route beneath downtown. Nearly 20 minutes later, daylight appeared ahead. She emerged inside an abandoned warehouse several blocks away. Waiting inside sat an old wooden desk, a satellite phone, fresh batteries, and one final envelope. Grandma Rosie had prepared for everything. Inside rested Attorney Charles Meyer's business card. A handwritten note beneath it read, "Call immediately." Emma dialed. Charles answered before the second ring. "Emma Brooks." She blinked. "You knew I'd call. We've been preparing for your call for almost 15 years. Charles explained everything. Rosie had legally established the Brooks Community Trust decades earlier. The moment Emma recovered the original documents, ownership transferred automatically. At that exact moment, legal notices were sent to state authorities, environmental agencies, land registries, and financial crime investigators. The people searching the soda fountain weren't developers. They represented shell corporations that had spent decades trying to illegally acquire the downtown water rights. Rosie's archive documented everything: forged deeds, corporate bribery, illegal property acquisitions, money laundering, hidden ownership agreements, every fraudulent transaction. Within days, search warrants were executed. Corporate offices were raided. Executives were arrested. Fraudulent property transfers were canceled. The Brooks Community Trust retained permanent ownership of the protected water system. Months later, independent engineers confirmed Rosie's original studies. The underground spring could responsibly supply clean drinking water for surrounding communities for generations. Reporters expected Emma to sell everything immediately. Instead, she surprised everyone. The soda fountain reopened exactly as Grandma had always dreamed. Families filled the booths once again. Children laughed around the restored jukebox. Old photographs decorated the walls. The upstairs became a museum celebrating the town's history. Revenue from carefully managed water agreements funded small business grants, scholarships, and emergency housing for young adults facing homelessness. Exactly the kind of help Emma once needed. 1 year later, Rosie's soda fountain had become the heart of downtown again. The chrome counter sparkled. Fresh pies filled the display cases. The jukebox played music every afternoon. Customers lined up outside. One sunny afternoon, Claire and Natalie quietly walked through the front door. Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, Claire whispered, "We made a terrible mistake." Emma smiled politely. "I know." She served them 2 milkshakes, just like Grandma always would have, because forgiveness had always been worth more than revenge. Most people believed Emma inherited a boarded-up soda fountain and accidentally became wealthy. That wasn't the real story. The soda fountain wasn't the treasure. The underground archive wasn't the treasure. Even the trust wasn't the greatest inheritance. Grandma Rosie left Emma something far more valuable. A place where kindness still mattered. A purpose bigger than wealth. And proof that the people who choose compassion over greed often inherit the richest lives of all.